welcome to The Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UK OCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for The Swift Half.
You're listening to the sixth most popular podcast for listeners who think that Ace of Spades is Alan Titchmarsh's favourite gardening implement.
Ian, my friend, welcome to the Swift Half. How are you?
I'm great, Alan. How are you on the last Friday in September?
Made up with flumonia. I haven't got cold, I haven't got flu, I haven't got pneumonia, and I definitely got not man flu because I wouldn't be here if I'd got man flu. I've got flumonia, I'm going to call it. I've had it for 4 or 5 days now, and I'm racing on Saturday. What am I going to do, Ian?
You're going to go up that hill, and providing you don't perish, you're going to come down that hill.
That is the plan. I'm going to run it, walk it, do whatever I can to get around. That's Cedar Summit, if anyone wants to know. It's at Scaffold Pike this weekend. Although, Ian, I signed up for this 12 months ago, yeah? And in 12 months, I've actually moved addresses. So all the race pack info has gone to my old address. And I've not realised. So I've now had to send an email out to Rat Race and say, hi, can I please come?
You're going to be proper embarrassed if the person who's living at that address turns up and starts racing.
It might be faster than me, Ian. So if he wins, then I'm still going to claim the result.
That's true. That's true. It is weird, isn't it? When you move address, you just forget about what you've signed up to, which could end up there. Like everyone remembers to change your bank, your gas, your electric, your water, but you don't think about things like races that you may have entered or perhaps subscriptions for magazines that you may get.
You're right. I never even thought about this. I never even thought they'd send anything physically out anyway. I was expecting everything to come via email, and because everything does nowadays. You know, when I moved, I only transferred my post for 3 months. I think it cost me like nearly £100 for 3 months to transfer anything in mine and Paula's names to the new house. But after 3 months, you've usually got everything by then. So everything that got transferred over, the bank statement come, I thought, right, I need to change the bank if I'd not already done it. Or something came, I thought 3 months is a good time. But yeah, we're like 7, 8 months, 9 months nearly down the line now. And yeah, I'd not notified Rat Race because I'd just not thought about it.
You know, the biggest surprise about this is that Rat Race are paying for stamps.
That is a massive thing, isn't it? I mean, the price of stamps, what is it? £1.25 to send a second-class stamp.
Actually, you won't know the answer to this. I think some of our listeners are doing this race, or people like Yvonne and Craig, they'll have to tell us. I wonder if Rat Race paid the correct postage or just stuck a second-class stamp on it, hope for the best, and they're now currently having to pay the fine and whatever it costs in postage to get it back.
I've got a question about postage because I've had to post 2 letters today. So me and Paula have had to send 2 cards. So it's Paula's brother's anniversary and it's his wife's birthday. They're only 1 day apart. So do you put both cards in one envelope and pay for 1 postage stamp, or do you put them in 2? I decided, rather than look cheap, to send it in 2, but it's cost me £2.50 to post the cards.
Oh, I'm not sure, because for my birthday, which was a while ago now, I did get a big envelope stuffed with cards.
Lots of people had just stuffed the cards into one envelope and sent it to you.
Well, it was Jen's family. Jen's family really loves sending cards, and I love them for it because it's always nice. And growing up, I didn't get a lot of cards, and it always makes you feel good when you've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 cards that you can put up on your birthday. Except I'm terrible, and it's usually 7 days later. But still, it's always nice to get so many cards. But what would happen is her mum would go around everyone's house because we all still live in Bolton, and Bolton's not that big. So her mum would go around all the houses and collect the cards and then just stuff in an envelope and post it off.
I like that idea. Oh, that would be more fun though if they lived miles apart and she spent more than £1.25 going to each house to get the cards. So just spend 20 quid on petrol rather than let everyone pay. That would be more fun. That'd be my trick, that.
That would be your trick. I suppose one advantage to doing it the way Jen's mum does, as opposed to the way you did, is that if there's any money in the cards, there's less chance of it accidentally coming loose, if that makes sense. Because, as you know, we all send a lot of letters. Letters get damaged. It's very easy for an envelope to come open and the contents to fall out. Whereas if it's all in one big envelope, if it does get loose, it's just throwing the envelope.
Yeah, true, true. I didn't put money in though. We didn't put money in, so that was luckily. And we digress slightly again before we even start today.
We do. I've got one final question.
Go on.
When are these birthdays that you sent the post for?
7 days time.
7 days time. So this podcast will have told them if they listen to not bother opening your cards because there's no money in because you're a cheap Yorkshireman.
That's a valid point, isn't it? I hope they don't. I hope Stephen does what he say. I don't think they do. They're not into the running side of things. But you never know. He spends all day driving around, like cranes and that. He drives cranes all day long in terms of like lifting things up and moving around. So I'm pretty certain he has music in his cab. They call them cabs. So yeah, he might very well be listening to podcasts and tuning to me and you chatting away. So Stephen, sorry there's no money in your card. But hey.
Right. But we will raise a glass in your honour, Stephen. So Alan, what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm actually on beer tonight, Ian. Kill or cure was my theory. And you know me, typical northerner. I went to Morrison's. I think this was last weekend. Yeah, it was last weekend. I went to Morrison's and they had something in there called Camden Lager Top. So it's a lemon lager, 12 cans, £6. That's why I bought them. No other reason. And I actually thought it'd be a bit like a shandy. So it's nothing like a shandy. It's 3.7%, 3.5%. And it just tastes like lager with a touch of lemon in the top. It's not too bad, bit zesty, but it's not like a shandy. I was hoping for a shandy, but it does make a good shandy. So 12 cans, £6. I thought it was a bargain.
Lager top. Isn't that what Newcastle fans were to stop them getting cold?
A lager top, yeah. A larger top, that is. They don't even wear tops, Newcastle fans, do they? You ever go to watch a Newcastle game, they just take the tops off and tuck them in the trousers.
Exactly. And the carling that they've been drinking keeps them warm.
It certainly does. It certainly does. But yeah, I thought lager top, because that's down south, lager with lemonade top in it. But no, it's nothing like that. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Fanta tonight. I can't remember at this stage whether I've drank this flavour before. So, listener, if it's a repeat, I'm sorry. I am drinking a fruit twist, which honestly, it just looks red. I couldn't tell you what it tastes like. It's red. But what it does have is a tie-in with Beetlejuice, the new movie.
Okay. So this is the new movie, not the old one.
Yeah. So Beetlejuice. Don't say it again, Alan.
No, you can't say it 3 times, can you?
No. So there's a picture of what's she called? Winona Ryder?
Winona Ryder, yes.
And she's looking very stern. I'm not sure if you can see this, Alan, but
yes, she is. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's not great for our listeners, but I can see it.
She's making me feel guilty about drinking pop.
Yeah. I think you need to ask the intern to go and get you a beer.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it's a very stern look. I don't think it's the best marketing they've ever done to have someone giving you the guilt look while you're drinking their product.
Someone's smiling at you saying, hey, drink me.
Exactly, Alan. Right. I can't think of a great bridge for this, so let's just go with it. The ultra running world had a little bit of scandal this week, and outside marathon investigations finding out that, I don't know, the 400th person in the world who's good at ultra marathons may have cut a corner. You don't often get scandals in the ultra marathon world, do you? Everyone's nice.
Everyone is usually nice, but it has blown up massively. Camille Herron and her culture husband has been caught up in a Wikipedia scandal to top all Wikipedia scandals. But this is not the first time they've done it. This is the second time they've done it. First of all, let's tell people what they've done. Because not everyone might not have seen this. Not everyone, people around there might have blinkers on. But Camille Herron, one of the greatest ultra runners of all time, she holds 13, 14, I don't know how many records she owns, but she owns quite a lot of records out there in the ultra running world. I think she owns 12 FKTs, big FKTs as well. And her husband, Connor Holt, they have been, how can I put this without reading what it says? So they've been on Wikipedia and they've been making claims that certain athletes, so Kilian Jornet, Courtney Dauwalter, have got words on their Wikipedia that say possibly the greatest ultra runner, and they've been saying they can't have that on there, But at the same time, they've been changing theirs to turn around and say, regarded as one of the greatest ultra runners. So in Camille Herron's, it says regarded as one of the greatest ultra runners. It's double standards, and it's not gone down well. I mean, this was brought to attention by a Canadian ultra running magazine that they've got all this out, and like I say, it's not the second time that's happened. This is the second time it's happened. It's not the first time.
No, it isn't. And people are probably familiar with Wikipedia, but something I learned about Wikipedia is the idea that it's meant to be factual. It's not meant to have opinions on. So that's why, Alan, our Wikipedia page cannot say possibly the best way to spend your Friday morning. Unfortunately, it cannot say that because there's no independent verification of that yet.
Yeah.
Once we've got independent verification, then perfect. So, in a way, you can kind of understand her suggesting with these other ultra runners that perhaps when there's any kind of opinion or inflection, even though we'd agree that Kilian and all these other athletes were some of the best ones, you can understand the point and you can understand why it gets deleted. But to then go and put that flowery language on your own, you're no longer just trying to do a Wikipedia cleanup. You're trying to get a leg up on your competition, presumably for advertising reasons. And this is speculation on my part, Alan. But one of the biggest eye-opening things for me and perhaps you when we, for whatever reason, decided to become kind of part of the media, but not quite part of the media, was how lazy other people can be, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, and it's not laziness from a malicious point of view. It's just laziness from a, I'm so busy, I don't have time to do this. So if you are, I don't know, a new supplement company or a new version of Built for Athletes, and Camille Herron or her coach approaches you to ask to be sponsored, the first thing you'll probably do is about 2 minutes worth of internet research will take you to the Wikipedia page. And you'll probably take that as gospel.
If they've got a Wikipedia page, a lot of people are going to literally take that out. That is exactly what people would look at. Because first of all, to have a Wikipedia page, you've got to be fairly successful in whatever you're doing. I don't have a Wikipedia page. I don't think you have a Wikipedia page. I'd be very surprised if many of the top OCR athletes in the UK have one. I know John Alban has one, but I don't know of many other athletes that do in the UK OCR scene. So yeah, so you're right. A sponsor's going to look at that and go straight away, fantastic. We want that person if it reads correctly, doesn't it?
Exactly, because people do half-assed research. That's sadly the way it goes. And I can appreciate it's not malicious laziness. It's just busy laziness. People don't have time to look really deeply, particularly into niche sports. We've had this with High Rocks, don't we? Where the legend that High Rocks stands for hybrid rock star keeps going because Greg from Rocks Life put it on his website. I don't know if he believed it or he thought it was a joke. I have no idea, but that just keeps getting repeated in the mainstream media because they go on his website, they're doing their half-assed research, and they just repeat it. For the record, dear listener, Mo and Christian have both said that That's not the truth. The ROX does indeed stand for ROX Life. High has nothing to do with hybrid because they don't call it hybrid because they're German. And to them, hybrid racing makes no sense in different languages. That's why we call it fitness racing.
Yes.
But because we're an English speaking world and because everyone's super into hybrid, the legend continues. For the record, listeners, it's called High Rocks because we got sued. It was going to be called Q-Rocks.
Q-Rocks. What was it? Who sued them? So there's a company called Q-Rocks. What do they do?
I have no clue. I don't think they do events, but there's a company called Q-Rocks for that CU Rocks, and they sued them.
Okay, I'm going to Google that.
While you're
Q-Rocks
Googling
Health.
Q-Rocks Health, okay, I can see it, kind of. If you're doing a race, Q-Rocks Health, yeah, fair enough. But let's take it back to Camille and her husband for a second. Something I learned from my half-assed research, which made me smile in a way, is the fact that this is a Canadian magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Have you any idea why the Canadians may be a little aggrieved at Camille Harron?
Well, actually, I haven't. I don't know. Have they changed the Canadian athlete? Tell me,
I
Ian.
won't, I won't say the lady's name because it is speculation on my part, but a Canadian woman recently set a ultra record. So an ultra record, but only a Canadian record. So not worldwide, something that Camille Herron is not eligible for, but of course it's a nice accolade. And Camille Herron appealed it.
Oh, right. Okay. So you think this is a bit of payback?
Potentially, I don't think the athlete who was involved is involved with Canadian Running Magazine, but you dig a bit deeper, and Camille and her husband have a history of appealing against anyone else's records, which could slightly dent her own. She just had a history of doing this, and this is all coming out in the wash because of this. And it's crabs in a bucket mentality, isn't it? It's most of these achievements will not knock Camille down the pedestal at all. But it does, I guess, in her mind and her coach's mind, muddy the waters when it comes to ultra running achievements. So she probably thinks, well, only my achievements should be talked about. And if other people are getting news articles, well, that's not great because it doesn't mean that people are talking about me then.
Exactly. One of the things they did ask to be removed. So they've got some evidence here of what was requested. So on 25th of February this year, Courtney Walters' Wikipedia read like this. Born 13th of February 1985, an American ultramarathon runner and former teacher. Widely regarded as one of the world's best female trail runners, DeWalter became in 2023 the first person ever to win the Western States 100, Hard Rock 100, and the UTMB, three iconic 100-mile race in the same season. And whether it was with my Camille or her husband Connor, requested that it read like this: Courtney DeWalter is an American ultra runner and former teacher. And they requested everything else to be taken out that was factual on the grounds of puffery.
Like I said, I can possibly understand taking out the highly regarded as one of the best ultra marathon runners if Wikipedia is factual. I can understand that. But the achievements, no, that is clearly part of this, what I was talking about, that she wants to remove anyone else's achievements so she looks better. There has been a little bit of an update, hasn't there, Alan, in that her husband has come out to try and take the blame off Camille.
Yeah, Connor husband's come out and turned around and said he's done it all, and basically Camille had nothing to do with it. When this magazine was published, they said they sent an email to Camille and Connor for any rebuttals or what they wanted to say on the subject, and he's now turned around and said, oh, it went to his spam inbox and not something that they read, and they've been too busy running and training. But at the same time, from what I'm understanding, is they've been live on social media and things like that. So it's not like they've been stuck behind a lead wall in a lead box somewhere where they haven't had no internet content or anything like that. I don't know what to think of it. I fully think Connor's had something to do with it. 100% I think he's had something to do with it. But to me, and this is my opinion, and in my opinion, you can't sue me for my opinion, I think Camille has had a little bit to do with it because you can't, it was her email address. So first of all, both the accounts, because this happened prior, several years ago, and she was then removed from Wikipedia and not allowed to make any more updates. So they then changed their email address. And both of the email addresses and these accounts lead back to Camille. They don't lead back to Connor. So is he controlling it? Is he a controlling type of husband that accesses all her emails and does things like that? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I do think that they're both there to blame.
I would be very surprised, even if it was him doing the actual edits, I would be very surprised if Camille didn't have knowledge of what was going on. Because honestly, if a partner of mine or probably a partner of yours was doing that and it came out what had happened, there's a good chance that the next time you hear from me would be I'm divorcing them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because this is so damaging. It may become chip paper, as these things often do, but from a sponsor point of view, it will torpedo a lot of the current sponsors. And if it does gain traction, the irony here, Alan, is this is no factual because it's been admitted, so it can be put on her Wikipedia page.
Well, actually, there was a meme that came out. I don't know if you saw the meme that came out. It said it was a mock-up of Camille Herron's Wikipedia. It said Camille Herron, ultra runner and Wikipedia editor, something like that.
But it's no factual, so it can go on her page. Oh well,
it can go on the page. Yeah.
But the moral of this story, Alan, well, there's two morals, okay? Because I think we're about ready to wrap this up, putting a button on it and move on to some OCR. Two morals. One, just concentrate on your own stuff, listener. Don't get a crab bucket mentality. And we do see this. We do see people discouraging other people's achievements. Other people's achievements are not hurting you. Resources are not infinite. There are sponsors out there if that's what you're into. And just because someone gets one sponsor doesn't mean you won't get a different one. Correct, Alan?
Exactly. Before we leave Ultra, oh, go on, sorry. Give me a second point.
Second moral. Never, ever, ever pee off the Canadians. They're nice, but they've got teeth.
And they've got mounted police as well.
Right, Alan, what was your final point?
No, it wasn't a final point. I was going to say, before we leave ultra running and go to OCR, I want to give some credit to ultra running as well, because something amazing did happen this last week. And I don't know if you can hear my nose getting full up, so I'm just going to have a quick drink. That's a bit better. So Tara Dowie has broke a record, Ian. So the record is the Appalachian Trail. So I don't know if you know what the Appalachian Trail is. It's in America. It runs all down the coast. I want to say the west coast. Someone will tell me I'm wrong and say it's the east coast. I'm not sure which coast it is, but it runs all the way down the coast. It's so long, yeah, it takes months to walk it. People take a year to walk this trail. They take a year out of their life to go and do it. Well, Tara Dower broke the record by 14 hours. I haven't sent you this link, so I don't know if you know, but how long do you think it took her to complete it?
So she broke it by 14 hours.
Yeah, she had to run approximately 56 miles every day.
Wow. How far is this trail?
Pretty far, mate. Pretty far.
I'm going to say 18 days.
And I would have thought that would have been a good thing. 40 days, 18 hours, and 5 minutes. I do believe it's 2,000 odd miles long. It's crazy, isn't it?
Are you telling me they've got this trail that is twice the distance from John O'Groats to Land's End?
Yeah. More than twice the distance, isn't it? It's called the Appalachian Trail. People take years out of their life to do it in. It's well renowned. It's something that's, I'm not going to say it's on my bucket list, but you know, if I lost my job when I get to about 60, if I lose my job for whatever reason, I hope for God I don't, and I can take a year out of my life, or I come into super millions of pounds, I can take a year out of my life, I would love to go and try and do some of it. The downside to it is that people do die on this Appalachian Trails. There's bears, there's snakes, there's a lot of dangers, tiredness, and things like that. I've been a member of a group called the Appalachian Trail Hikers for, for a long time. So I follow this. It's something I became aware of many, many years ago. I think Killian Jornet held it for quite a while, the record. But yeah, 40 days, 18 hours, 5 minutes, averaging, I actually wrote down 54 miles a day. So that's every day she did 2 marathons for 40 days.
Well, actually, Alan, I know I've said we'd move away from ultra marathons, but I've got one final piece of news.
Go on.
Guest landlord or landlady, Sophia,
Yeah.
she completed the Grand Canyon R to R to R, which is a 48.3-mile trek. And she did it, I believe, in less than a day.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Guess how much elevation?
You're going to say that it's the Grand Canyon, so you're going to tell me there's absolutely loads. Was it Grand Canyon?
It is 20,000 feet of elevation in this race
Oh my God.
and a potential temperature change of 70 plus degrees. Now, it is American degrees, so it's not quite as swift, but even so, 70 degrees is a massive potential shift because, of course, in a desert, it gets super cold at night, but it's roasting during the day.
That must be so hard to train for, that shifting temperature. And I've got so much respect for people who do the marathon disables, where they run in day and night as well, and the temperature changes over there. But yeah, that's absolutely crazy. How long did it take her, do you know?
According to Instagram, and I'm reading this, it was either 23 minutes, 29 seconds, or perhaps 23 hours, 29 minutes.
I think it was more like 23 hours. But no, that's an amazing. So she ran day and night. So yeah, that's superb.
It is. And if you don't already follow Sophia, it's trailhonk_Sophia on the IG. There are some amazing shots of this. So make sure you go and follow her. I'll tell you one thing, Alan. She has inspired me. One day I will go to a Grand Canyon and I will go on one of them helicopters and see if I can get some of these pictures.
I love that. I love that. Actually, talking about Sophia and the USA leads us into a good segue because Tough Mudder or Spartan Tough Mudder are now being sued in the USA as of last week.
Yeah, I read this. This is about unsafe water and a rash or something.
Yeah, so Sonoma Tough Mudder 2023, over 100 affected participants have filed a lawsuit against Tough Mudder, its own Spartan race. They all came down ill and they actually went to Spartan and Tough Mudder. And because the way I'm reading it, because they haven't done anything about it, they haven't come back and done anything to these 100 people. They've now all got tired and joined together to file a lawsuit. This could have a massive effect on OCR in general, on the insurance side of things here. This could affect us over in the UK at some point. And this is why I've put it on our list, because it's not something that we do. Now, if you've got running water, I know this from our insurance, on running water, you don't have to have water tests done. However, if you have standing water, that's when you've got to have water tests done. So if you've got a lake that's stagnant and is not running through, you've got to have water tests done on it. However, if it's, like I say, running water, comes in, goes out as a stream, you don't have to have water tests. The water tests are expensive, So just for example, when I was with Dash of the Titan, we had water samples done at 2 ponds. There was two stagnant ponds, and we had water samples done there, and each one was £180, and that was nearly 8 years ago. So this could be quite big, this, to affect insurances going forward.
It is. And of course, the legal geek in me is having a field day with this for a couple of reasons. One, initially, I was a little bit like, what's the big deal? Yes, you got a little bit sick. It's horrible. No one should get sick during a race, but we kind of accept there's a element of danger here. But then when we were discussing it in the solo admin chat, Joanne pointed out to me that in America, they don't have the NHS. So these athletes would have incurred costs. They would have incurred costs of medicine. They potentially had a hospital stay, but I'm not too sure on that. So I can kind of understand that if you went to Tough Mudder and said, look, this isn't great. Can you help us out? Throw us a little bit of money to cover our costs. I can understand that. Okay. I can then understand Tough Mudder and Spartan's stance, and this could have a massive impact because I'm sure Tough Mudder and Spartan stood behind their waiver. And what is this going to mean for waivers if the decision goes against Tough Mudder and Spartan?
And that's where my thoughts are as well, Ian. I'm watching it closely. As you know, I signed up for some legal thing quite a while ago, so we can find out who gets sued and who doesn't, just in case anything happened. And this is sort of a little bit where it came from. But I don't know where you're going to stand on it because, especially Tough Mudder and Spartan events, they actually import the water, don't they? So at my race, my water is running water. It comes in through a natural spring and flows out again. So even though we've got a minor pond, it flows in, flows out on all of our ponds. But they import their water in terms of they dig a hole and then fill it with water. So you would normally expect they would have some due diligence there in terms of if the water is not right, they can go back to the firm that supplied them that water. So, like, we have water for our showers. We trust that water from our showers is supplied by Dove Facilities, and Dove Facilities have got that water. So our due diligence, we've gone to Dove and said, you've got to supply water to our showers and our drinking fountains. Therefore, we know that water's safe. Yeah, that's our due diligence. Will Tough Mudder and Spartan go back on theirs because they'll have got the water from someone else?
That's true. Do we definitely know it was a pit and that it wasn't Creek Crusade, for example?
If I read the comments, from what I'm reading, it was a dunk wall.
The dunk wall. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, then does it become an issue with the land because maybe something's contaminated on the land that's then got trodden in?
Well, this is for them to find out, isn't it? I mean, if they haven't done water tests, who knows? And we don't know if they've done water tests, so we're only speculating at the moment, people. But yeah, we'll keep a close eye on this, and should something else arise, we will let you know because I think we'll all be interested. Health and safety is key for us, even though we put ourselves in danger. We want it to be. I want it to be safe danger. Is that such a word as safe danger?
Right, exactly. You want to play in the mud, but you don't really want to get ill from it, do you, Alan?
No. You want to be as safe as possible. Accidents happen. Fully get accidents happen. I've fallen, twisted my legs. I've broken my thumb. My finger's never going to heal from Tough Guy when I got it caught in a rope. It's as safe as it's going to be. These things happen. I hope no one has accidents and things like that. But if this could have been avoided, it should have been avoided. If it's something that can't be avoided, like you say, from the land being transferred into water, that's something that's unavoidable. I don't know how they can sue Tough Mudder, but Tough Mudder stroke Spartan need to, I guess, not bury their heads in the sands going forward.
No, absolutely. Again, I can understand why they took the stance. They were probably betting on these people not bringing a lawsuit because a scary fact for most of us, but we kind of accept, for the most part, we don't get sued because it's more bother than it's worth. Lots of people do things that could be sued for, and often it's more bother than it's worth. When I was acting in private practice, Alan, that formed part of my advice all the time was, yeah, you've got a legal point. Yes, they have breached the contract, but it's going to cost you X to go ahead with it. How about I send a letter, we try and agree some kind of settlement. Yeah, you're not going to be happy. They're not going to be happy, but you'll be in a situation where you can live with it. And perhaps that's what we'll see this time. And that would probably be the best outcome for all of us in a way, Alan, because it's not going to impact your insurance then. And we won't get a definite answer on this idea of whether or not waivers are worth the paper they're printed on. So from a race point of view, that would be the best outcome. I know from a racer point of view, it would be nice to know whether the waiver is good for anything. But if it comes out the waiver's no good for anything, who in their right mind is going to put a race on?
Exactly. I remember Tough Guy's waiver used to be something along the lines of, if I kill myself, it's my own bloody fault. Something along those lines. It was like, I take responsibility for my own life, and if I kill myself, it's my own bloody fault. And it was like, yeah, that's about the best waiver you can ever have.
It's completely wrong in a way because under UK law, you cannot disclaim liability in terms of negligence. But as I often say, these waivers are don't sue me. That's what it is. It puts that little bit of doubt in your mind. While we're talking about Tough Mudder and Spartan, though, let's talk happier things. Okay? Tough Mudder London discovered this week what happens when you upset the weather gods.
That's about right. Am I right in saying that they had to send a email out on Saturday night, Sunday morning, warning people to come a little bit better dressed?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And also carpool if you can. And listener, if you're a little bit confused as to why I'm saying that, Northwest Tough Mudder usually happens 2 weeks before London South. It's been like that since the year dot. Well, not the year dot, but for probably 10 years. And that is where you have the mud. You usually have relatively poor weather. And that kind of satisfies the weather gods because we've got all the people getting super muddy. And then London South tends to be quite nice. But Tough Mudder moved northwest from the calendar, moved it to later in the year. That upset the weather gods who said, right, we're going to turn London South into Tough Mudder Northwest.
Yeah, it's not great, was it? But we had some great athletes turn up on the Sunday in the podcast wave when we had our very own Will Chung, Chris Shipley, Becky Neal, Finlay Greenleaf, one Ramonas went. It was great to see them.
It was, Alan, and they didn't see me and you, did they? We were so fast, they just didn't see us starting that wave and just finish it. And then, of course, we were super busy, so we couldn't hang around afterwards. We just had to go home.
Exactly. We just came home. But what did come of it? What did come of it is one of the debates was finally answered, Ian. So if you remember Pint Size OCR, Finlay and Libby had some amazing debates, and Finlay conceded one of those debates on Sunday because I've got photographic evidence of him taking a medal.
Isn't that going to ruin OCR? Doesn't that mean that we can't use the money to pay for World's Toughest?
That's it. Yeah, everyone's taking too many medals now. No, great to see them going, guys. It was actually great to see the pictures of them out there and having fun. I can't wait until Will gets that video out of them because you know what Will's like. He takes more videos and everything else. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You are, and so am I. While we talk about medals, it was late developing at the end of last week. The new medals have been announced for both Spartan and Tough Mudder. The Tough Mudder ones look super cool because they've gone with a kind of hybrid trifecta, haven't they? Where the Endurance Series medals become a Holy Grail medal if you combine them in the middle.
They certainly do, which is absolutely fantastic. I think it's absolutely amazing.
And we mentioned Will in the podcast wave. We should also give him a shout out for the interview he then did with Giles and Matt after he'd raced. So well done to Will for that. Unfortunately for Will, he got into a fight with an opponent me and you have never been able to defeat, which is sometimes technology fails you and it always fails you at the worst possible moment.
It certainly does. And yeah, technology wasn't great for him, which then affected the sound quality. And it made some great editing for me, Ian. But we couldn't get rid of it all. So we do apologize for the sound quality and that on it. But if you want to know more about WTM 2025, how to qualify, if you're going to go there, then you need to listen to the podcast because it's got all the answers on there as well. One thing that we didn't cover last week when we talked about WTM 2025, did you know it's on the same weekend as Nuclear Rush Weekend?
I did not realize that. I know it was same as the Euros, but I didn't realize that. Before we down
Sorry,
this
not WTM.
thread.
I'll just tell that back. Not WTM. I meant toughest. The toughest that they're going to
Ah,
do, which is going to be qualifying.
right. I did not realize that. Before we go down this thread,
Yeah.
can I just mention the podcast that was out on Monday? Listener, yeah, the mics are not great. It's roughest at the start. If you get past the first 2 to 3 minutes of it, it becomes a lot clearer, doesn't it, Alan? It's just
Yeah.
unfortunate. I think Will tried to sort it out when he noticed what was going wrong with the lapel mics. So get through the first 2 to 3 minutes, and the rest of it is absolutely fine. But we've sadly all been there, and no matter how many times you test your equipment, Alan, do you remember that time where we had them really cool condenser mics, and then Matt B. Davis pointed out they weren't actually working, and we were just recording people on our iPhones, and it sounded terrible.
Yeah, I did. Hey, well, that was so funny. I mean, now we've both got proper pieces of kit. It's not video kit, but we've got some proper pieces of kit now, so we can attend events and do interviews. Although I've only done one so far with mine, I want to do more.
Yeah, I was listening to Matt B. Davis's Deadly Dozen podcast where he did a lot of interviews, and he is the best at this. I will never hold a candle to him because he is so good at that. So go and have a listen to that on Hybrid Fitness Media if you haven't already. But it did remind me, I always pack my microphones, I always pack my little recording device whenever I go to a race, but I haven't taken it out for ages. So I perhaps need to do that, take it out again, and do some records for a future episode. I guess the problem is we just have too much content at times, and it comes to when do we put it out? Because unlike Matt, we don't do this full time for a job, and we can't put 3 or 4 podcasts out each week. Well, we do put 3 out each week, but we can't do 3 or 4 unexpected podcasts each week.
No, no, we can't. We have to plan carefully. We have to plan carefully, which leads us to the planning side of things for people who are going to race next year. And if you're going to go to WTM and you want to get qualification at Tough Mudder's Toughest in May, you have got to make a decision because it's nuclear rush weekend, and that's a big clash. I mean, that's a massive clash.
It is because it's the same part of the world in that there's I'm not looking at Google here, but I'd be surprised if there's more than 50 miles between the two locations.
It is, and we're talking about, and I'm probably going to favour nuclear here because nuclear have been in the UKOCR series and it's their weekend. I'm not saying they're going to be in it next year. We're still in talks with them, people. So don't go booking anything yet. But they have, the Nuclear Rush 6K, the 12K. They have the Nuclear Challenge Cup. They've got the Rookies. They've got Oblivion Extreme, which is up to 60 kilometers. Everything goes off that weekend. That is their big weekend. And Spartan moved there last year. They had a bit of an effect on them last year. And now we've got Tough Mudder's toughest event, which is taking on the endurance side of things. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether Tough Mudder are just not really aware that what the impact they're having. Is it a case they can't move to a different? I don't know. I just wish it didn't happen for us runners here, and it's shocking news.
It absolutely is. And I would probably say it's more than likely a case of they're the only dates available. And I know James owns his venue, but even so, he has to fit that around the farm as well. So it's not as simple as James changing it. Because even if he changed it a week, it probably wouldn't have a desired effect. You'd upset more people who've already signed up for it than you'd probably gain because people would be like, well, I've just done a 12-hour race. I don't want to take on nuclear.
It's always been the second weekend in June. Always, forever and a day I can remember. I can't remember nuclear being a different weekend. Sorry, May. May, sorry, not June. Second weekend in May.
You confused me for a second there. I was going to point out, but yeah, you're right. It always has been the second weekend in May. And I want to say that back in the before times, that Tough Mudder always used to be the first and either third or fourth weekend in May, because you'd have London West, and then you used to have Midlands coming quite close after, but then Midlands has kind of shifted around a little bit. But that is a shame. Before we talk a little bit about nuclear, because there is some nuclear news as well. So before we talk a bit more about nuclear, shall I say, let's finish off the Spartan and Tough Mudder section by saying an announcement on the venue and the date of the Spartan event in Scotland, and likely the Tough Mudder event in Scotland, or vice versa, will be out at some point after you've listened to this, if you're listening to this on a Friday. So keep your eyes peeled.
How do you say that we know the date and the venue without saying we know the date and the venue?
To be fair, there's probably more than enough people out there who already know it because it has been released to various ambassadors, released to us, obviously, but it is embargoed, listener. We don't know when exactly it's going to be released, so we're not going to ruin the embargo. Just keep your eyes and ears open for further news. Correct, Alan?
Yeah, when I said the second week in June, that I was getting mixed up. This could be the second week in June. I'm not saying it is, but it could be the second weekend in June. But yeah, keep your eye out for it. And there's not very many places in Scotland it could be either.
That's true. Let's move on before we get cancelled because we do have a great relationship with Spartan. And I'm more worried about me saying something because, as I've said to many people, Alan, you could get away with anything. You just smile sweetly at them and they pat you on the head and go, "It's all right, Alan." I'm the one who gets sued. So yeah, let's move on.
It's because I'm from Yorkshire. Let's go back to nuclear then. Let's flip back to nuclear because this last weekend there was the very last blast and blackout. So although it was marketed as the last blackout, it was also the last blast. And I know this, Ian, because I've spoke to James Parish today. So I've been on the phone to James Parish. So coming Monday, there is a podcast about what is happening to blast and blackout. Not going to tell you, yeah. I'm going to say listen to that podcast. But I thought we will give details of the winners of Blast, Blackout, Rookies, 2 Laps, Oblivion, and the Family Wave. Do you want to know them, Ian?
Absolutely, I do. You know, we like celebrating achievements here.
Let's go with it then. So we're going to get top 3 males. Ryan Ibbotson took the lead in Blast, the winning Blast, with 4 laps in 2 hours 21 and 00 seconds. And I say that because in second place, Zach Harper took it 4 laps in 2 hours 21 and 01 seconds. 1 second difference between first and second place there.
Do we know if they crashed through a finish line at the same time or were they in separate waves, or are we not sure?
I don't know that, and I'm only giving the results out. I wish I was down there because if they ran in the same wave, that would have been a great race. And in third place was Ollie Cooper. In the female section, Becky Neal took the win. 3 laps, 2 hours 17:55. Kirsty Rockenbauer, 3 laps, 2 hours 37 and 7. And Jenna Brassett in 2 hours. I said 3 hours, that's 2 hours 37. And Jenna Brassett in 2 hours 43:36. That was Blast. There was also Blackout, which is the evening race, which I love Blackout. I love it. I've only ever actually been and done one. I've done 2 blasts, but I've only ever done 1 Blackout. I love it because it takes you into the secret nuclear bunker that no one knows about. You run through that and back out. So in the men's, only one person managed to get 5 laps in 2 hours 30. James Burton. Well done, James. I know you're listening to this. Second place, Christopher Delves in 2 hours and 5 minutes on 4 laps. And Robin French in 2 hours 11 minutes on 4 laps. So well done there. I've never met Christopher Delves, so that might be a name to look out for. Someone's going to tell me I do know him, but I don't, as far as I'm aware. It might be something to watch out for. In the female section, Amanda Crump, 3 laps, 1 hour 57. Kerry Fisher, 3 laps, 2 hours 4. And Jodie Wymark on 2 hours 9 and 3 laps. So well done to you guys. Going to jump to the Oblivion. The Oblivion was also part of the UK Endurance League. And Dassos Ganella took the men's 15 laps, Ian. 11 hours, 13 minutes.
5K laps, yeah?
Yes.
Holy moly. Unbelievable.
I know. Second place, big shout to Daniel Weston on 13 laps in 11 hours, 49. And third place, Craig Garvey, 13 laps, 12 hours, 24. Interesting that Russell didn't go down with him with him and Dassos competing for the Endurance League title. So big shout out to them. In the female section, Ruth Battersea took it with 12 hours, 2 minutes, and 12 laps. Well done, Ruth. Second place, Sadie Francis, 10 laps, 11 hours, 57. And third place, Emma Kirkwood, 10 laps and 12 hours, 30. Big shout out to all of them. Absolutely amazing effort.
No, absolutely. Well done to everyone. Have we got anything else left on nuclear, or is it just listen to the podcast on Monday and you'll find out more?
I'm going to give a quick shout out to the rookies, Ian. Quick shout out to the rookies. I know we don't give all shout to everyone, but in the one lap of the rookies, in the boys, Tate Parker first, Jack Barter second, Kieran Burnett McCormick third. In the females, Emily Barter won, Jemima Bridge second, Elsie Goodwin in third place. And in the 2-lap rookies, we had Harris Fuller winning, Max Riley second, Harry Cunningham third, and females, Sophie Stevens won, Lucia Church second. I've also got Lucia Church third. Not sure who came there. But big well done to everyone who went down, and big shout out to all of you.
No, absolutely. And it wasn't the only race that was happening this weekend. Well, that and Tough Mudder were the only races that were happening this weekend. We also had X-Race, Superhuman Games, which is a strange fitness race OCR crossover. Yeah, it's kind of like if you're doing the evolution of OCR to Hyrox, it's kind of in the middle. It represents the evolution between the two. Big friend of the show, Nikki Firefly, was there. We love Nikki on the show. We've spoke to her a few times. She was even on the Fitness Racing podcast this weekend. She was there amongst other people with her husband Chris, and they both did really well. Thank you so much to Nikki for sending us quite a bit of media on that. She sent me podiums, Alan, but I've not yet used them, and they're probably out of date now. But do you want to know why I haven't yet used them?
Why haven't you yet used them, Ian?
Well, usually when you're looking at podium pictures, you don't recognize everyone. So you go online, don't you, to figure out who it represents. Nikki told me it was the endurance, which was great. So I went on and had a look. The only issue was there was only 2 females in the endurance race, and I had 3 on this podium.
All right. Okay.
And then I took a step back. How many categories of races do you think that they had?
In age categories, or
age or different formats, because we did have a 1-lap, a 2-lap option.
Oh gosh. Well, I thought age you're going to get about 5 options. I thought in age category you get 5 options every 10 years, male and female, so that would be 10. Now, that depends how many laps you got, 1, 2, and so maybe 30 if you've got 1, 2, and 3 laps.
They had 51 categories.
Oh no!
Shall I read out these categories? So you had sprint, endurance, ultra, and amongst them you had individual men's open, individual men's vets, individual men's masters, individual women's open, individual women's vets, individual women's masters, pairs male open, pairs men vets, pairs men masters, pairs women open, pairs women vets, pairs women's masters, pairs mixed open, pairs mixed vets, pairs mixed masters, just for fun and everyone.
Oh my God. So really what we're saying is that the endurance race, it was an endurance to go through the result podiums at the end.
Absolutely. So I love Superhuman Games. They are a great company. Please, listener, try them out, particularly in the Southwest. But I really didn't have the time to play and find the needle in the haystack to figure out who these podiums relate to. I may share them in the future when I've had a little bit more time. This past weekend was super busy for me, and this past week's been busy. But remarkable. I've never seen that many categories. I don't even think Hyrox has that many categories, because bear in mind, within those, there's probably age groups as well.
Wow, that's crazy. That is absolutely. That's too many, isn't it? That is really too many.
It is, and I can kind of understand it, but someone's going to have to explain to me the difference between a vets and a masters. I'm sure one's probably 40 plus and one's 50 plus, but I do wonder whether you need it breaking down. Unless, Alan, I'm completely wrong and it relates to either people who've served in the armed forces or people who care for animals.
I like that. I know we have masters in ours, don't we? In the UK OCR League. So we have normal and then we have masters. I don't know where vets comes in. I don't know where vets is thing. So I'm going to have a quick look on England Athletics and see if it tells me. So it says masters program is for runners aged over 35 years. Oh wow. But it doesn't tell me what vets are. Yeah, so it doesn't say they don't have vets on England Athletics. I thought they would do because I'm sure I've seen vets in there in the past. But that's interesting that say a master is over 35. I would have thought it would have been over 40.
Yeah, that's probably of great concern to friend of the show, James Burton, who was one of the youngest masters this year, who is probably now a few years older than some of the other people who can compete.
Yeah. So he just started running the Masters, but if he'd have gone into road running, he could have been running Masters for 35 years. No, not for 35
Exactly.
years, since he was 35 years old. Get my words right there.
Either one's probably accurate. Sorry, James. Right. We mentioned James there. Quick piece of news, British Obstacle. We had him on last week to talk about 100-meter championships. You can now enter. It's £50 per person plus processing fees. Go on British Obstacle. That is the early bird price. Get your ticket soon.
Like it in. I like it in. And stopping with a little bit of that of tickets and things going on sale. Have you noticed the amount of sales that are going off at this moment in time?
Lots of sales at this moment in time.
Everywhere you look, it seems to be a 50% sale. I remember you used to get 10% sale, and there's more and more sales going off. But I will keep on sharing them. So Innovate's got one and Pete Bland have got one and things like that. I will keep sharing them on our Facebook. But I'm leading this into something else. Something else went up for sale this week here. Something that has not really been shared anywhere else.
Yeah, it was on the UK OCR Facebook page, and I did comment on this because I was a little bit confused because the original poster wasn't that clear.
No, but Beach Ballistic, the brand, is up for sale. I'm surprised, Ian.
Yeah, me too, because it always felt similar to Overlord that Norman would just run it because he enjoyed running it and would do it forever.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I felt. However, Norman is a business person. He has I think it's military fitness up there, which he does really, really well, boot camp style events, all over Scotland. And this was his way of putting something on. So he's got a big market, and everyone tells me it's always been super well attended. So I've got to admit, I was absolutely shocked when I saw the news. But it's gathered a bit of interest from what I can see on social media. There's people talking about it. So we might see it continue.
I really hope we do because there are elements of it that you don't get anywhere else, like running into the North Sea and doing a rope climb. You will not get that anywhere else, mainly because there's not a lot of races which come anywhere close to the North Sea.
That's about spot on. I mean, they have some of the best obstacles. I mean, climbing, like I say, in the North Sea, climbing up a rope. You don't get that anywhere else, and things like that. But what's your thoughts? Is it because the website's still up and running? They're not taking any tickets, and it's to be confirmed. Now, at the moment, this was only one of three. I want to say one of three. I hope I get this right. OCRs. We have got McTuff, Tartan Warrior, and Beach Ballistic. So if Beach Ballistic goes, we're going to be down to only two events in Scotland, as well as your Tough Mudder and your Spartan. But I'm talking about independent events there. So big shock.
You miss one. We've also got the Beast Race, which happened this past weekend as well, up in Knockburn Lock. If you remember, it's 10K.
I do actually remember. Yeah, it's very very well attended event. But isn't that more traily OCR than OCR itself? More muddy run.
It's more of a mud run, but they do bill themselves as an obstacle race. So I will include it. And yeah, it's well attended. I want to say it's similar to a wolf run style in that it doesn't do a lot with the community. I may be doing them a disservice. Maybe they do a lot with the Scottish OCR community. I don't know. But are very good at getting newbies to do it. So the beast race is definitely something to look at as well. But it's it's a fun run. It's not like the races you mentioned, which do have timed element.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. That's brought me to a very good point, that, because I had a conversation with James Parrish today about fetching new blood into OCR, and James is very, very keen on that. If you've got events like the Beast, who fetches a lot of newbies into it, yeah, and there is events like Mad March Mare that happens up near Hexham, that has so much of the local area goes to it. Total Warrior in Leeds has so much of Leeds area goes to it, but people don't travel to them like they used to. And I was saying this to James today, that if we don't get races like the Beast, like Mad March Mare, like Overload, that bring in local athletes from local park runs and local clubs to their events, then the big events, such as your Nuclear, who put on an absolutely amazing event and do it at a great price, don't always benefit because we haven't got the new blood coming in and it being shared. So we need events like Wolf Run and like the Beast to be involved much more in the community.
Absolutely, we do. They're the kind of catalyst for a lot of people taking up these tougher challenges, aren't they? Because you finish one of these, I'm not going to say easy because no race is easy, but one of these more straightforward events, and you look around and then you find, oh, Nuclear, that sounds tough. I'll go and do that. Oh, Total Warrior, got to give that a try. And tough and stuff like that. So we need this conveyor belt again, don't we?
Exactly. And that was me. When I started, I did a race in Sheffield called Extreme. You know, great challenge. It was a really good run. To me, it was a challenge. Can I get round it? And then I signed up for Tough Guy. However, I then realised how Tough Guy was. I had 6 months to train for it. But what I did, I then went and did 4 or 5 other races, because I found races like Go Insane, Avalanche Run, Farm. There was one called the Farmyard. I think it was called the Farmyard. Before we had the Farmyard Jam, Ram Run, and I found all these other little races. So I went and did a lot of the other little races, which at the time I think there was about £30, 30, £40, which you could afford to do 2 a month at least. You know, even now you can afford to do 2 a month at least. We need them races back.
You need those races which are low cost and high fun. Because I think the first one I signed up to was Adrenaline Shock. And we signed up to that because we wanted to do a Tough Mudder. We saw Tough Mudder was £100. And it's like, yeah, I'm not paying £100 for something I don't know if I'll like. Adrenaline Shock was £35, maybe £40. Then before that, I spent £12 doing Muddy Maniacs in Bury, if you remember that race. Before Jason, who runs it, started giving medals, he kind of did it as an extension of his boot camp, and it was 12 quid. You didn't get anything. You didn't get a medal. You didn't get timing shit, but it was so much fun, and that's what keeps you coming back. And we're kind of seeing it in the fitness race industry, that there are some events which are relatively inexpensive that people are doing. Although I am seeing prices creep up as well, because people look at High Rocks and think, oh, they can charge 110 for a ticket. I'm going to charge 80 and then I'll get people in, which may work. But I think people probably don't realize that High Rocks has the brand. And we saw that in the history of OCR, didn't we? That the races that succeeded of being intro races were the stuff that was only about 35, 40 quid. It wasn't the ones who were like, oh, well, I'll charge you 80 quid because you'll pay 100 for a Tough Mudder, but what I'm going to give you is nothing like a Tough Mudder. It's going to be some hay bales and going under some nets.
Yeah, and we did see that, and I don't want that to come back either. I do think there is a market for the fun element of running, and I want to see that come back, at a reasonable price, and then leave the big races to do their thing. Challenge Cup. If you want the biggest challenge in the UK, you go to Challenge Cup. If you want the biggest endurance race, you're going to go to WTM. That is going to be the biggest endurance race in 2025. In the UK, you've got to go and do them type of events if that's what you're interested in. But go and do the fun events. You've still got to go and do the fun events, because it's them fun events that will keep keep this business afloat.
Exactly, like you went last year to one and you had a great time, even though the obstacles themselves were nothing to write home about. You had a great time, and we have things like Bog Commander, which does have some fantastic obstacles. Don't get me wrong, listener, but it doesn't get talked about when it probably should because it's a fun event.
Yeah, I've got to go back to Bog Commander. That might be one of my lists for next year, I think. Whenever it is, I'm going to check whenever it is after we finish this and go over there.
Speaking of tickets, Vaughan, I mentioned High Rocks there. Let's just finish off with two interesting news snippets, shall we say. Again, it's embargoed at the moment, but we anticipate that probably as you're listening to this, the High Rocks Worlds venue will have been announced. Okay, we're not going to say anything more than that. But this past week was also when the second round of the High Rocks ballot happened for Manchester. And yeah, Alan, it was weird.
Tell me why it was weird, because I have seen some comments, but you tell me why it was weird from your.
As I understood the process, and as it was kind of promoted on High Rocks' story, it was going to be another round of ballot like they did last time at 5 p.m. on, I want to say Tuesday, but I could be getting that wrong. But 5 p.m., I believe on Tuesday. It's been a long week, listener. You'd get a email if you were lucky enough to have a second chance at it. Okay.
Okay.
What actually happened, everyone got an email, and it was basically a fastest finger first.
Oh, so the email come out at the same time? Everyone, but no, you can't get the emails never go at the same time.
The emails all went out, there were probably seconds difference,
Yeah.
and it was fastest finger first. This caused all kinds of confusion. I want to give a shout out to Lily Davis, who is a friend of the show, who pointed out to me that if you checked the Hyrox FAQ document, and I'll read this out, Alan, so I don't misquote them. It says as following under Section 4 selection process. Unsuccessful entries. If you don't receive a ticket during the first round of ballot, any unredeemed tickets will be made available in the second round. You'll receive an email during the second round with an opportunity to secure a ticket on a first come, first served basis. Please be aware, if required, you'll be notified of any changes to the given timeline. Most people, including me, didn't see that and thus were a little bit surprised when it became first come, first served. Even more surprised by the fact that, as often happens with this, you've got to set it up. So anyone who happened to go there earlier, so earlier than 5 p.m., could just waltz in and get a ticket.
Oh, so what time did you get on?
I didn't need one because the intern was lucky enough to get a ballot entry. So we were sorted. It was
Oh,
fine.
nice one.
And saying that, even if we hadn't been, there was still plenty of tickets available for the November event, which is what we wanted anyway. The January event, which is the traditional Manchester event, sold out very quickly.
Yeah, I can. I mean, January is the one I've been to every time. Unfortunately, as I had this year, I'm not going. I'm trying to stay injury free from everything. But yeah.
I will say, I kind of like this way of doing it to some degree. It does seem like a best of both worlds that ballot entry, you will get a guaranteed spot for 72 hours. After that, it becomes first come, first served. I can foresee an issue as people get wind of this and it becomes more common knowledge that will again be in a situation where lots of people are disappointed when the first come, first served round happens. But it does seem also like the best of both worlds because the other issue is how long do they keep running ballots for?
Yeah, I see. I don't see nothing wrong with it. You get a ballot to start with. If you don't do it, it's first come, first served. Everyone gets a second chance who didn't get into it.
Exactly. That seems fair enough. What is interesting though, if you want a second chance for the Birmingham event, which is fast approaching, check out Rock's tickets on Facebook because they have close to 100 tickets available, Alan.
Oh, so Rocks tickets have got tickets for High Rocks.
They have. The Rock's tickets are a reseller. So
Okay.
previously, people would just post their ticket up wherever they could. Rock's tickets will now, for a nominal fee, will list it for sale. But that is a lot of tickets and a lot of people who are looking to sell. And again, I keep going back and forth on this, Alan. Is it a sign that maybe the FOMO is running out a little bit on High Rocks? Or could it also just be a sign that no people have a place to list their tickets? So you kind of aggregated it. So this could just be a normal amount of people who want to sell the tickets.
Yeah, I think it's more like that. I think it's people get injured. I think they've got to a point now where if you've got to go into a ballot to get one and then something crops up and you can't make it, you can't defer that ticket, can you, with IROX?
No, usually because by the time you think to defer it, all the other tickets are sold out anyway.
Exactly. So you've got no other option than to try and sell it somewhere. I get that. I do actually get that. And Wolf Run have a very similar policy on that. I think you can defer up to about a month before, and then in that last 30 days, you can't defer. So that people who then can't make it for one thing or another, injury, wedding, emergencies cropped up, they've got to try and sell the tickets. Hence, the UKOCR group has a lot of Wolf Run tickets come up for sale, usually the week prior to the event. You can always pick up a Wolf Run ticket, no problems whatsoever. This is probably what's happening with High Rocks because it's a sellout event. People can't get tickets, so there's going to be a reseller. Same as a gig. If you're going to get tickets for Oasis, I'm pretty certain that someone at some point is going to put tickets for Oasis up for resale.
No, absolutely, Alan. And you are right. Things crop up, people can't make it. I am now curious about the future because we always think about future. That's part of what we do, and we speculate. I wonder whether High Rock should consider a deferral process of some form because they do keep a waiting list of people who want tickets. So in theory, there are people on that waiting list who may or may not be aware of Rock's tickets because High Rocks will contact people on the wait list. If someone contacts High Rocks and says, I don't want my ticket anymore, but that person who says they don't want a ticket anymore doesn't get the money back.
I get that.
And that then frees up a ticket, and then they'll contact someone on the waiting list. So in effect, High Rocks are double dipping. So I do wonder whether or not there should be, like you say, up to a month before you can forego your ticket and either get a refund and or have credit for a future race.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see IROX wanting to make more work for themselves, but if they're also already doing something similar, it wouldn't make more work. If you say they've got people on a waiting list and that's not going to create no more work. So I guess it's watch this space. It's this Rocks tickets though. Do they take a percentage? Is it a legal thing? Is it, or is it a Facebook thing?
It's a Facebook. I think we take a tenner, but don't quote me on that. I think we charge the seller something. So it's interesting. Like you say, High Rock's doing what I'd suggested would cause them more work, but it wouldn't half gain them more goodwill because at the moment, I suspect that there's probably going to be at least 50 people who don't manage to sell their tickets, maybe even more, who possibly won't then buy another High Rocks ticket because they'll think, well, it's no longer a decent investment as if I can't use it, I'm going to lose my money.
Interesting. Yeah, I completely agree. Do we have anything else here? Because we've been on it for a while tonight.
We haven't even had a guest to cause us to be longer than usual. But yeah, this is a long episode, listener. To be fair, I blame Camille Harron. What happened, listener, was this was going to be a regular hour and 7 minute episode, which we always put out there. And then Camille, or it could have been her husband, came on and edited it using AI. So we talked about her more. That's what's happened.
And I'm completely in agreement with you there.
Right.
Maybe she could change my itinerary for this weekend as well. What are you doing this weekend? Are you going anywhere this weekend?
Actually, no, I've got a kind of free weekend. I was tempted to head down to Nuclear Races. They've got Nuclear Fit on. I sadly won't make it this time. I'm going to have to make it one time, but unfortunately, it's just ridiculously expensive. Have you looked at, just petrol and that? I will give a massive shout out to Mike and Claire who offered to put us up this weekend, which was so nice of them. But even so, it was still going to work out quite expensive to get to drive down there. We're trying to save pennies. We've just booked Dublin. And listener, if you've not booked your accommodation hotels yet and your flights to Dublin for High Rocks Dublin, do it now before you have to remortgage. That's all I'll say. So this weekend, no plans. Conquer Fitness is happening down in, I want to say Macclesfield, but it's not. It's just north of Macclesfield. So I may pop down there if I have the time, or I don't know, Alan, clean up in the house, do some housework, do all these things we never get round to because we're here, there, and everywhere. But yourself, sounds like you're going to have a great weekend.
Great weekend at Rat Race Sea to Summit in Scaffold Pike. Yeah, I'm gonna have a good weekend, just chilling and relaxing up there, spending a few days up there. So yeah, that's me. Quickly you talk about petrol there. I've read in the news today that you need to fill your car up with petrol this weekend, by the way, because it's the cheapest it's going to be for about the next 6 months. So the prices are due to go up on Sunday or Monday. So fill your car up this weekend if you're listening to this before Sunday.
Perfect. What I'll do is I'll go and fill up a load of barrels and keep it in my house.
And then we can go to Rocks Tickets and we can sell petrol through Rocks Tickets to get to your event.
Exactly, Alan. And I think on that's a great place to leave it. So I'm going to say goodbye from me.
Listeners, I hope you've enjoyed listening again. We did go a little bit off topic, but that's us. You take care, you stay safe, you keep on running, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye.